what are we hearing every day? Objections.
Just want to know the price. I'm not looking to buy anything today.
That's awesome.
Just want to know the price.
I'm really glad you asked. My used car manager handles all the prices on these vehicles, and I'll be happy to get that for you as soon as he's free. That reminds me, I wanted to ask, were you looking for something pretty much equipped like what you're driving now, or were you wanting something a little different this time?
I'm not sure yet. I'm still kicking it around.
Okay, well, that's cool. We'll just make it an information day, and hopefully I can help you along with the process. Where did you say you guys were from?
Riverhead.
Riverhead, really? How long did you live over there?
2 years.
I don't know.
Kidding.
We go right back into building rapport.
We could not
and
tell
qualifying.
from that accent. We would never think that way.
This is where attitude comes in. Since attitude is everything, and we've been hearing this for years, if we have a no problem attitude, really, if we really have a no problem attitude, objections are easy to bypass. Now, everything that we do in this part of the process, since it's so early, we're just getting the customer to settle down a bit, to warm up.
And by the way, what are we measured in when we're car guys? Aren't we measured in the toughest guy? Aren't we measured in all the hard heads and just the big time attitude, chest in your face, I'm gonna knock your teeth in type of attitude? Aren't we like that all the time? Seriously, we are. And the bottom line is, I want to make you aware that there is 97% of the public out there, they're just nice people. They really are not that hard of a case. They just want to buy a car. And they just want to feel comfortable where they buy a car at. So sometimes when we have a training class, all we want to do is throw the tough stuff. And by the time the salesman leaves, he's scared out of his mind. He said, man, how am I going to handle this customer? I know there's a couple of scripts that you just gave me, but man, that sounds hard. So why don't we just deal with normal human beings? So if 97% of the people are nice people, do you really care about the 3%? I mean, some of the guys come in the seminar, like last seminar, says, what if they throw God into it? I mean, he said, God told me to go home and pray. You know,
well,
I told them.
First of all, it's a reflex.
I said, well, we need to identify God. You know, is he a Muslim God? Is he a Christian God? Because I mean, we get the correct information. No, listen. But I mean, God told me to go home and pray, and he say, well, God is multidimensional. I mean, we don't know what home is. I feel this is home because I spend a lot of time here. And I feel really I'm home because I have good people like you. And I know for a fact that the only better of a prayer is when we pray together. So, you know, I prayed this morning and God had answered my prayer. I asked him to bring me a good customer. And I'm sure you prayed for God for him to find the right car at the right place. And that's why you're here, because you being here is not an accident, is it? No.
But it's not the right decision.
A couple of amens and it's done. I mean, you know, look, it's a no problem attitude. How's that sound? It's just a no problem attitude. And when they say, you know, God told me to go home, did God really tell them to go home and cry or pray?
Before we get way off, usually it's a reflex.
It's just a protective what?
Mechanism. They're afraid of paying too much and buying the wrong thing. Usually, when does that come up? There's 3 or 4 things that come up at this point in the process. It's usually when you're coming off the test drive and we're getting ready to go to showroom and work what? Work the deal. Is that right? What happens when it's time to work a deal? Fear shows up. That wall comes back up. We did a good job settling them down. They come inside. They're going to say something like, I want to think about it. I want to pray about it. I want to go sleep over it. I want to go and have lunch and then come back. What they're telling you is that there's something there that you don't know yet that's stopping them from making a decision right now. So for all of those, it's the same. We're getting into overcoming objections at this point.
Well, you know, but I'll go ahead and cover. We don't want to get into a lot of tough guy stuff, but instead of just going through that, we'll go over that quite a bit. But right now, we have just went through, assuming this, right? Assuming that Mr. and Mrs. Smith showed up, most perfect couple in the whole world. They got their daughter with them. They're happy. They're excited. They're fired up about buying this brand new car. They have a 4- or 5-year-old car that's paid for, and they came in and you met them and greeted them, and the salesman met them, greeted them. We sat down and built a good enough rapport, and now it's time for you to go to the desk, and I'm going to be the desk, and I'm going to say, you know, hey, what do you got, Daryl?
Okay, I got my deal. I got a deal. I got a buyer.
That's what I'm talking about. Because do we have anything else other than I got a deal, I got a buyer? Can a salesman come in and say, we got a stroke job here? Can a salesman come in and say, man, we got a looker? I mean, can they say something like that to a tower manager? They'll get their lungs ripped off. They can't. Because everything is what? Positive. Everything is a deal, right? Okay. And that's what we believe. We believe everything is a deal.
I got a deal. They make $700 a month. Okay? I got every step. I have their proof of income, proof of residence. I have every bit of information. When I took the credit application, I asked high-quality questions, like, do you get paid by the hour or is it salary? When you left this job, did you go straight to this job? And the number there is. I have all the information. I have the job history. I know whether there's a gap or not. Because I learned and I was trained, I have the skill to take a credit application. So now I'm at the desk with the credit application, and I have all the steps in hand.
How do I put this deal together?
Driver's license, what do I need to do to make this deal?
That's the question at the end. What do I need to do to make this a deal? Right? So now the manager looks at it. Remember what he said. He said what? What's the income? 700. I mean, most of us at that point said, okay, well, tell them to have a nice life.
I didn't ask for a cosigner. I didn't ask for money down.
Not allowed to. Not yet. If they if their customer wants to give that information to you, like volunteer it, that's fine, you take it. But if they don't want to, like, if it didn't come up, you don't go ask for them up front. Why? Why don't we ask for a cosigner up front? Who can answer that question for me, please? Creating objection. Is the customer like it, listen to us, trust us? Yet.
Nope.
They might like us. They might be listening to some of this stuff. But do they trust us enough to share their mom and dad? And if we really treated them in a very awful, extremely non-pleasant way, what would happen? Are they going to share their mom and dad? All right, how about down payment? Will that work? Would we ask them for 1,000 or 2 or 3?
No.
Why? Because, exactly. Exactly. So you bring it to me, I look at it, and here comes the separation. This is where two different departments works. And some of you guys are like at 100, 150, 120 to 150 car store, and you're right at the verge where you need to use this system. And some of you are selling 100 or 120 or less, and you don't need to use it. Where your desk manager is the guy that knows special finance and retail. Okay? So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to assume that I'm going to be the desk manager that knows special finance and retail. I'm multi-dimensional. I understand what's going on. I'm going to look at it and I'm just going to say, wow, good stuff, buddy. That's great. All right. Providing this customer, I tell you what, man, according to this, in my head, I'm saying, according to this amount of money that this customer make, I know I'm going to need a cosigner. And part of the information that you fed me, look, they're just looking for something economical. They're looking for somewhat of a low payment. That's what they mentioned to me, but they didn't give me a number, obviously, right? Because we didn't stick to them. And now what we're doing is we're getting them what? Excited. Now it's time for us to get them excited. So now we're going to go into vehicle selection. Assuming that we can get a cosigner, what car would they want to drive? And if it's a Suzuki franchise, we put them on a Suzuki Forenza. If it's a Dodge franchise, we put them on something that is low in price. And if it's a Ford franchise, you put them on an Edge or a Focus or whatever it is, and go let them what?
Now, we're thinking that as car guys, what they should go on and what should happen to make this a perfect deal. Is that right? Because if we do end up pulling a cosigner, we know what car, but does the customer? Does the customer even know what we're doing right now, what we're talking about? You know, what they're thinking is, they're making fun of my credit right now. This is the 4th place I've been. Here we go. They're going to come back and tell us no. Some of us are telling them, all right, give us some bad news before we even get back to their desk. So instead, what we do, they've already met a manager. They're already excited, like, wow, this never happened any other place. I can't believe we got this far. We got the credit application at the desk. Now, here's where something really special happens. And this is where you as a manager have to make sure that this happens with every single customer, every single time, because it's part of the process. They're going to get interviewed by the finance manager. Can we get a microphone to Brody?
And Brody is going to go. And Brody is going to go in there, and he's just basically going to have a good, solid customer interview with him, ask him some wants and needs and that type of stuff. But even before we get Brody invitation right there, as far as him interviewing, I'm going to, as a desk manager, I'm probably going to go ahead and do what? Let them take a test drive. Because when they take a test drive, are they excited? Yes. Are they fired up? Are they pumped? Did we build a... And then Brody comes in and sit there. Now, Brody, after they took a test drive and they're excited and happy, is it easier or harder for you to ask for a cosigner?
Oh, much easier.
Is it easy or hard to ask for down payment?
Much easier.
And what's the amount of co-signers that you've got in the past to put a deal together? What's your record? Listen to this, guys.
The most, I think it was like 13, 14.
Do you hear that?
Right around there. Just
guys
had
heard
an
that?
instance just recently, too. 11 o'clock at night, we got the 6th cosigner and put a very nice deal together.
Where was that at?
That was actually in Michigan. Those folks were here. There were some folks. So this guy wanted a car so bad, he came in at 5 o'clock. We test drove him in it, let him go out. He loved it. Pulled 6 different cosigners, and about 11:15 at night,
Done.
done. 770 Beacon
Which beats the heck out of what?
with a 433.
Beats the heck out of blowing that customer out, right?
Yeah, that would have
Okay.
cost you about $6,000.
So, to sum it up, thank you very much, Brody. To sum it up, meet and greet, qualify, build rapport, touch base with the desk, vehicle selection. And then you go for the rest of the steps, which all of them are you guys are very familiar with, except the last one, which is sharpen the saw. And we're going to talk about that right away.